Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you're having a good holiday season and it's just going to get better. I am going to share with you the product of knowledge acquired through lots of persistence in research, in experiments, and applications that I've learned through many years of being an author, a researcher, a writer, a sales executive, real estate investor, a mother, and many other things. But the most important thing that I want to share with you today is how I can help you, how you can help yourself through the use of tools that I'm about to share with you. This is going to be as fast as possible. And let's begin. So this this little tool that you're looking at is the beginning of something called the Breakthrough Bootcamp. I am Athena Kaplan, and I am the author of this book that you see here called the Breakthrough Bootcamp. And like I said, it's a product of many years of research. And I would like to help you plan successfully for your 2024. 2024 is going to be a very special year for many of us. We have been looking together as a spiritual community. We have been searching, we have been seeking, and I am finding I speak with a lot of people every day, and I am finding this thirst, this willingness for all of us to continue in a path of enlightenment. So, in order for you to establish yourself in well-being, which is at the end of the day what we all want, we all want to feel good. We all want to feel well-being in our life. And if you are open enough to accept this is possible in your life, you are in the right place. And again, if you can accept that well-being is the dominant note, can be, it's possible that is the dominant note in your life, you are in the right place. How are you going to get there? We have ideas, we all have ideas, and many of us, all of us who are right now seeking and finding as a spiritual beings, know that knowledge and wisdom is a very important, is a foundational part of this well-being, this a life of well-being, a life in the kingdom, like Jesus Christ taught us all. The life in the kingdom is at hand. So how are we going to get to the kingdom? How are we going to open our eyes to the fact that the kingdom is at hand? So for 2024, we're talking about how we're going to make this happen in 2024. And one of the most powerful things that drives the life of a person is knowing what your purpose is at any given moment. Now, does that mean that there's only one purpose or that you were born with a purpose? Well, it is true that before we're born, we kind of launch an intention. We launch an intention, and that intention can have a lot of varieties. There can be an intention to not having an intention, right? So, but when you are here, you have the right and the capability to make adjustments to that purpose. So I invite you that before we go into the next exercise, it's a very interesting exercise, and I'm going to recommend you to save this, to watch it as many times as possible. Please do like it. It will help me, and please do share it. Feel free to share this with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. It's going to work for everybody because it is about wrapping your mind around the possibility and the clarity that you need, that we all need in order to enjoy and produce well-being, not only for us, but for other people. And we very much, most of us at this point, we already know that that comes from knowing what we want. What do you want? So In past years, I I was teaching productivity in sales. I was teaching a number of things. I'm a certified hypnotist. Um, and and I've had the privilege to study in this life how mind works. And the mind is our best ally, but it can also be our worst enemy. So in this chart that I'm showing you, this is very different than the goal sheets that I used to do, which I'm going to say in most years that I've determined an amount of money, that amount of money has come to me. And I'm going to make this disclaimer, not in every year. And I'm going to say not in every year because in some years I really did not know my purpose. I was working for money. And the number one thing I'm going to tell you, if you want certain amount of money next year, that's fine. But do not work for money. So in this chart, there are two things that I want you to notice. The number one thing is it has two principles. In the bottom part, it says 2024 targets. So we're not talking about goals, we're talking about targets. And the targets are the ways you want to feel. How do you want to feel? The most important part. So, and it has two principles. Um, the number one principle is love your God above all things and your brethren as yourself. The top of the page is Matthew 22, 37 to 42. And if, I mean, I invite you to eventually go and check it out. And it says, love God above all things and your brethren as yourself. And we also know, and it's one of the teachings of Jesus, that God is with you. The kingdom of God is within you, is within you. So we can go on and on and on about where exactly within me that is. And it's in a place that you can only reach through your imagination, through your mind. In the kingdom, there are no limitations. And the mind of Christ and in, in the idea, in the world of Christ, there is no limitation. So this is why it's so important that we connect to this. And then when we're thinking about if God is within you and where, in the book of um, Exodus, we find that Moses is called by God to go and speak to the Pharaoh. And when Moses asks God, what am I supposed to tell the Pharaoh? Who is sending me? And he says, I am. That I am, and that's my name forever. So I am is the name of God according to that particular passage of the Bible. And in other passages, we are said, and especially in the Gospels, the Lord is within us. The kingdom is within us. So very important that you connect that with your ability to feel the things that you want to feel. So there is no limits. There is no limits except those limits that you accept. I'm going to say this because it's very simple, and I'm going to say it again, but it's foundational. The only limitations are those that you accept. So if you're accepting, for instance, I speak to people every day again, and some people would say, well, but God doesn't want us to be happy, or we're in the world to suffer because well, if that's what you believe, that's what you're going to experience. And let me tell you, you are going to feel it. You are going to feel. So what is it that you need to do in order to feel different? So let's establish what your purpose is, right? What is your purpose? I want you to feel free to send me a request for this paper, or you can print it from in my book. All the forms are there in my book, The Breakthrough Bootcamp, which is available in Amazon. But you can just request this form for free. The book, you can also read it for free in Amazon. The most important thing is that you have tools. And I do recommend this amply because I observe invariably when people do not have something to hold on to, like a light that is guiding them every day, even if it's two or three little things that you put in your bedroom or in your bathroom, then you're gonna, the world has a lot of string, a lot of different energies that pull you all over the place. This sheet, I strongly recommend that you print it out and you put it in at least two places in your house, um, in your bathroom, and you carry it in your purse or your wallet. So I've divided this in four axes. To the left is, to the upper left is feeling I am loved, loving, and lovely. What are your goals in love for 2024? What is your aim? What is your target? So I put three lines there for you to put three things that you want to do in order to support your idea of being loved during 2024. Because at the end of the year, you want to feel loved, loving, and lovely, and throughout the year. And let me tell you, if you follow some of these um, plans and programs, and there are many out there. I have specific things that are meant to heal ourselves from the idea of not feeling loved. That's one of the main ailments, one of the main diseases right now out in the world, when we do not feel loved, we don't know, we do not feel worthy, or it's opposite. We have a big ego, and then no one actually loves us. So this problem is caused in many different ways, but you can find your solution if you focus in the solution. So how are you going to feel loved, loving, lovely? What things do you need to do? How do you want to feel? So in those lines that are there, when you have your printout, it's better to write with your hand and a pen, and write it there. Write it there and say, you can, this is something I can do. I can look at myself in the mirror. I can do my routines. I can do my rituals. We're going to talk about rituals and routines. I have them in my book as well, in the book, The Breakthrough Boot Camp. I have a series of routines. I have different types of decrees. Some people say, no, affirmations don't work. And I say, well, uh, that's a very long conversation. But even people who sometimes have said, oh, affirmations don't work, it's impossible not to do affirmations, because everything that comes from out of your mouth is an affirmation. And that is why it's so important to curate your language, your speech, before you actually deliver it. So back to feeling loved, loving, and lovely. When you make a printout of this, and absolutely it's going to be available in my group in Facebook. If you go to www.thebreakthroughbootcamp.com, that is the entrance to the group, and you just ask me to be part of the group, and then I'll post this, and I'll make this PDF available. And then now let's move to the other part, feeling joy in fulfillment of your purpose. We're going back to, a lot of people say, well, this year I want to make $250,000. This year I want to be a multimillionaire. And all that is nice and good. Now, again, I do not recommend that people work for money. I do not recommend that people work for money. It's never worked well. I made the money, and the money came once, and I share this in my book, 22 years ago, when I began to be in sales. I wrote a goal of $150,000, and it worked. But let me tell you, it has been one of the most difficult years of my life. And looking back, and in hindsight, it's not necessarily the happiest year of my life, but I did make the money. So you will ask and you shall receive. So what is it that you're asking? And that is the main purpose of this graphic and this guide, is that you are very wise in asking, very wise, very smart in asking, because you shall receive. So, do you want to feel joyful in the fulfillment of purpose, or do you just want to make money? What is your purpose? What is the purpose that you want to decide? This is not something that you ask the heavens, oh, what's my purpose? It's something that you decide. And let me tell you, the hints are in your talents. What are your talents? What are the things that you love doing and that you would do even if they didn't pay you? For instance, I've always known that I love music. And I was never doing music until recently. And I don't care if they don't pay me to the music, but I have gotten paid to get me to perform music. I mean, I haven't gotten paid a lot of money, but again, my intention is to be a good musician, to be the best possible musician I can be. So it's not how much you're going to make, but believe me, the money will come to you. So, what is the purpose that you have going to decide for 2024 that is going to help you sustain your sense of worth, your sense of purpose, your sense of being loved, of having fun, your sense of being joyful? So, and then in that axe, in that part of the page, you're going to write down. This is, we're talking about the upper right. You're going to be writing 3 or 4 things that you can do in that, going in that direction. Let's say that you already love your job. So you want to succeed in your job. You want to maybe serve more people. You want to get to more people. You want to provide better tools to your customers. Or if you're a mom, you want to be a better mom. You want to learn how to be a better mom. Great. What do you need to do? Maybe enroll in a course, maybe do some new routines, maybe do some new things. So right there, 3 or 4 activities or targets that you will define in order to fulfill your purpose. If you are in a place where you don't know what your purpose is, I also give consultations on that particular thing. So you go to www the Breakthrough Bootcamp and you enroll in my group. It's free, and then we can pick up from there. So now we're going to the bottom left, feeling peaceful now that everything is paid for. Now we're talking about finances. Very important to notice there is no money amounts here. But what would happen in your life if you would be feeling peaceful and knowing that everything is paid for, knowing that everything is covered, knowing that everything is taken care of? In itself, this is an affirmation, and I strongly recommend you to start connecting with these feelings. That's when these decrees work best, when you connect with the feelings that these decrees reflect. Feeling peaceful now that everything is paid for, now that everything is covered. I'm feeling great now that everything is taken care of. And this works. I explain in my book, The Breakthrough Bootcamp, how and why this works. Scientifically, it's been proven that it works. If you have any skepticism, you have 2 choices. You continue to be skeptical, or you can give it a try. And I invite you to give it a 45-day trial. In any of these items, your worst enemy is going to be your self-doubt and your skepticism. So, but I know that most of you who are listening to this and who have come this far already understand that this is true. So let's go to the last part. Feeling strong. Now we're talking about health, right? So you're feeling strong, joyful in your healthy, beautiful body. That's health. That's the perfect health that you are meant to have. So I am feeling strong and joyful in my healthy, beautiful body. So the technique that I use to do this is you close your eyes and you repeat this thing before you fill in the blanks. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling so interiorize that. And then when you open your eyes, you have your pen in your hand and you're going to have ideas immediately to write there. You're going to get this divine inspiration and you're going to write it right there. And that's pretty much going to be your plan for next year. So let's talk about your main enemies. Your main enemies here, or your main allies, are going to be the beliefs. So you better have beliefs that work for you. Beliefs that work for you. I have exercises in my book that are very simple to do, and sometimes I share it in my group. Go to www.thebreakthroughbootcamp.com. It's a Facebook private group, and I share with people there some of these techniques, and we do different things. I invite you to come to suggest to post something that you want to do, something that you need to work on, and please go ahead and knock the door, and it'll be open to you. So back to the beliefs. The beliefs are sneaky because you don't think it's a belief. You think that's the way things are. That's the way life is, and then you don't understand that it's something you are creating. You are emanating everything in your experience. And this is, I know people who have been doing or reading these kinds of books for 25 years. And still to this day, they say, yeah, but we're not creating everything. No, you are creating everything that comes to your experience. You are creating everything that comes to your experience, and there's no getting around that. Because otherwise, that would mean that you have no freedom, but just an illusion and a delusion of freedom. And if we go back to the book of Genesis, God created us all according to his likeness and image. And he has no limitations. And he gave that to you. And we came to the world to train ourselves as those gods that we are, to train the divine in us. So this is part of this training. This is part of the training that you are getting in order to learn how to manage your subconscious. Your beliefs are stored in your subconscious, and they are forming the universe you perceive. The universe is perceptional and is mental. It's mental. It's something that you have in your head. Even scientists are saying these things, and they are explaining why this is. So we spoke earlier about clarity of purpose, and this is the most powerful drive that you can put in your motor. This is what really moves the engine. You know what you are here for. For instance, a mother who knows that her purpose when her children are little is to take care of those children, and you will lift a truck with a hand to save your kid. You don't even think about it. It gives you all kinds of power to know your purpose. So very important, but that before you even do the other graph, again, I cannot address this enough. What's your purpose? What is my purpose? And again, connect with the things you love to do, because that's why you were given those gifts. So let's talk about this guys, or this guy, the enemy and you. Who is the enemy? The enemy is something that you have to be very aware of, because it hides in your beliefs. The enemy definitely does hide in your beliefs, and it's that little voice that tells you that something cannot be done. Something that is telling you, the inner conversation that says, no, but remember that you are this, or you are that, or you're not good enough for this. I'm going to give you once again my example, and I talk about several examples of this in my book. When usually that conversation, when it's not a good conversation, it will make you feel bad. That's the evidence that the enemy is talking to you. It's something that makes you feel unworthy. It's something that makes you feel that what you want is not possible. It's something that makes you hate other people. Beware, because that is the enemy. and absolutely is lying blatantly to you. So, very important to audit your inner conversation. If something is making you feel bad, immediately question it. Maybe a comment from another person, maybe a memory of something that happened when you were a child. Forgive and forget. Very important thing. Now let's talk about these allies that you can have in your path this 2024. Principles. I'm going back to the form when I say, okay, love your God above all things and your brethren as yourself. In the book of Matthew, and it's also in the other Gospels, Christ does indicate to Peter that the most important of all the commandments is to love God above all things and your brethren as yourself, and don't do unto others what you don't want done to you. And then he says to forgive everybody who has hurt you. Why does he say that in those particular paragraphs? And it's because when you don't forgive people, when you're constantly holding on to the past, that drags your energy horribly. It's dragging you back. It's part of the strategies of the enemy. When the enemy tells you, oh, but he did or she did, or this freaking company doesn't work, beware. You must energically, in a very energetic way, reject anything that puts you in that resentful position. So I would say the number one principle in my life that I am following that has worked really well for me is I love God above all things and my brethren as myself, and I don't do unto others what I don't want done to me. I have diligently, and I recommend amply that you work diligently in forgiving and releasing any resentment, anything from the past against yourself or against anybody else. Forgive yourself. Oh my God, how many times? 70 times 7. Forgive, 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 forgive. I forgive. I have forgiveness exercises in my book, The Breakthrough Bootcamp. It's a way to start getting the ball rolling, because sometimes the resentments are very deeply seated, and trust me, they won't let you reach your goals in in this year or in any year unless you completely and totally make this commitment to yourself to let go of. So that's part of the principles. And now let's talk about the personal policies. Which policies are you going to have? In the path of hitting your targets every year or in your life, you're going to find that the world is out there. And some of these people, they don't think like you do. They're different. And sometimes they are within your family. So, how are you going to manage the world? This is like in any business, you got to have policies. Which policies are you going to? You don't have policies in place. Let me tell you, most people don't. But when I began to have policies in place, meaning when this happens, I have these general things that I do and things that I don't do. And all of them come from the principles. The number one principle is I am the creator of all my reality. That's the God in me. And I love God above all things and my brethren as myself. I don't do unto others what I don't like done to me. And I forgive, forgive, and forgive. So it's important for us to not only forgive, but to give, right? But you have to have certain control and balance between the way you love yourself and the way you love another. And that's where you're going to define policies. For instance, I'm going to give you an example of a policy. Women in the past didn't have the rights of many things. So a man could come and hit you, but you could still have a personal policy and say, I don't I don't let this happen to me. And if because I'm physically weak and a man is physically bigger is going to come and hit me, well, that's going to be the one time. It's a one-time deal. And nobody will ever do this to me again. For instance, that's a policy that you can define as a woman. As a man, you can have these other policies, different. You can, for instance, say, I don't go out with people who lie to me. Um, you can define things like I don't work for less than so much money. And this is very powerful. Not long ago, I thought it would be good to take a job in an industry that I know very well. And they initially were going to hire me, and then I noticed that they were not honoring the offer that they had online. They were going to pay me, they were planning on paying me a lot less. And I spent time, and for a quarter or a fraction of a second, I thought, I'm going to take it. And then, I have policies in place. I have this policy in place, and it says, I do not work for less than this much. I do not work for less than this much. And trust me, it will work for you if you apply it. You define your own policies, and I recommend you to write it down. Get your own notebook, your policy book. Now, this is something that great coaches, and one of them is Tony Robbins. He speaks strongly about having rituals, routine, and disciplines. I suggest in my book a series of very simple. This is something that doesn't take you more than an hour a day, and it's the most powerful hour of power. Your rituals, your routines. I personally recommend prayer. The first thing in the morning, prayer. I light my candle. I say my prayer. I am grateful. Routines. What are your routines? What do you do? Your routines will make you or break you. Those are the habits. You have the power to build good habits. You have the power to build habits. Your habits don't have to own you. I have techniques and tools in my book, and I teach that, and I provide hypnosis as well for you guys to find the keys in your subconscious to break through things that are not working for you, but you seem to have them there, and supposedly they make you do things. Nothing makes you do things. You can find a way to undo any bad habit, and the sooner you do it, the better. And your disciplines are those things that you do every day. Are you disciplined? If you're not disciplined, you're weak. It doesn't sound good, I know, but if you do not lean towards being disciplined, you are going against yourself. So we have some hacks and we have some tools to do to build good habits. And I have 10 magnificent tools, but we're running out of time. I do come to my group, the Breakthrough Bootcamp. By all means, we are going to have a lot of these kinds of discussions in group meetings to empower ourselves and to have a wonderful 2024. So I wish you a wonderful 2024. And please feel free to go to the link in the description of this video and get the book in Amazon. You can read it for free. 10% of everything that I make go to donations, especially for children. And my name is Athena Kaplan. I'm the author and organizer of the Breakthrough Bootcamp group. And thank you so much for listening. Have a very lovely 2024.